Shields are one of the most widely disliked features in 1.9. Many players dislike how slow shield PvP can be. I am fully aware that shield PvP can be quite fast paced, but it is a problem when this playstyle is that effective. It is a problem when defensiveness is that favored. I wondered if the combat snapshots fix this problem, so I decided to try out shield PvP in the combat snapshots. I began with the technique I knew best, axe maining. This technique was somewhat effective, but it was completely useless against a player named Spending Saucer. I wasn't very accustomed to the reach of the axe, so Spending destroyed me just about every fight, so I switched to a weapon whose mechanics I'm a lot more familiar with. I decided to sword main. This ended up paying off. I ended up taking a round off of Spending, even with a good amount of health to spare. I even managed to bring normal X down to half health with the strategy, which you will come to learn is an accomplishment. Unfortunately, it does not happen again. From this point on, matches wouldn't even be close. I had periods when I dished out a new complaint every round I lost. One of these complaints was regarding the short disable time. On the small chance that I'd get an actual disable against normal, I would only get a second to take advantage of it, which is very difficult with a good player such as himself. Throughout our fights, I noticed that normal was block hitting with the shield, like you would with just your sword in 1.8, so I tried to replicate it. I initially tried shift block hitting, as pressing shift automatically pulls your shield up. However, I would learn later that shift blocking decreases your reach. This isn't the most engaging experience in the world, so I'm glad it is in the meta. Regardless, I managed to steal a win using this technique. Granted, I pinned him in the corner of the map, but the details aren't important, right? Just like my first win against him, the glory of this victory was short-lived. I would never pin him in the corner again, and that win would end up being my last. It was right back to the consecutive losses. Another complaint I had was that anytime I would actually return a hit mid-combo, he just blocked that hit with his shield, absorbing the knockback and allowing him to pick the combo right back up. I deferred to sword maining since it had been my most successful technique. I spent a lot of time avoiding the block hitting meta, because this looked painfully unfun, and instead trying to polish up my sword main. Not many people actually practice this game mode, so sword maining was effective against most players. The few that beat me, unsurprisingly, utilized block hitting. Each loss reminded me that, at some point or another, I would have to learn how to block hit. I wanted to sneak in here to say, subscribe if you're enjoying. Future videos will be just like this. That's all. Later on, Normal told me about a player that is apparently even better than him. Axolotl. Axolotl and I are good friends, so I hope that I could get some coaching from him next time he logged on. Meanwhile, I had to settle for Normal, who could only 20 HP me 9 times out of 10. What a noob. Around this time, I made the decision to stop backing out of combos. In shieldless fights, the courteous, aka the stupid, way to end combos is to charge your weapon and time your hit with your opponents. I was hammering this into habit prior to training shields, so I was stuck in this shieldless mindset. In other words, I stopped utilizing my shield to interrupt Normal's combos. Eventually, my frustration reached a breaking point, and I stopped playing. I figured I would make this video with whatever footage I currently had and give Snapshot Shield PvP a very bad note while at that. At some point, the frustration dissipated, and I realized that this video would be a lot more interesting if I ended up securing this win, so I decided to at least try. One day, Axolotl actually logged in, and I got to fight him a few times. His playstyle was quite similar to Normal's. However, during our fights, I actually used my shield to cut off combos. Furthermore, I've been destroyed by Axolotl enough times to see that as the normal outcome. As such, those fights were a lot more bearable than my duels with Normal. Unfortunately, I had to leave before getting any coaching, but it didn't matter, because when I finally got the opportunity to ask him for some tips, all he said was, just block hit. This is very disappointing, but after hearing this advice over and over again, and now from Axolotl himself, I decided it was time to stop avoiding the meta. When block hitting, you ultimately perform the same type of combos. You just hold right click along with letting go of the W key. As such, I picked up this strategy pretty quickly. I even came close to a win against Spending. Remember him? Yeah, me neither. He wasn't my focus. Normal X was. Fortunately, he was on that day, so I impulsively decided I wasn't getting off until I beat him. I didn't actually think I would beat him that day. I said that only to give myself a slight boost of confidence. But then, this happens. Just as I'm about to secure the win, my hit ghosts. I was quite disappointed, but disappointment was quickly clouded by inspiration. That fight was ridiculously close. There's no way I don't secure a win in the next 5 rounds, so I gave it another try. At last, I beat my mortal enemy. At last, I don't have to touch this garbage kit again. Well, I got my 200 clips. Shut up, normal, nobody cares. One thing I can say for sure is that shield PvP is a lot more fast-paced now. It might actually be even more fast-paced than free-for-all combat, but that doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't look very good. It looks like you just spam right-click and left-click. It's not very engaging to watch. Losing in this game mode is also particularly frustrating. Return a hit in a combo, their shield absorbs it. Disable their shield, you get about a second to take advantage. I personally dislike shield PvP in this version, but perhaps you'd feel differently. Perhaps the meta changes later down the line and shield PvP becomes a lot more enjoyable. Venade offers free-for-all shield PvP, alongside regular free-for-all. The IP of that will be listed on the screen. There are other combat snapshot servers, which will be listed in the description. Venade just happens to be the most active one. The best thing we can do is play these snapshots and share our opinions for Mojang to see. That way, we don't just create a third divide in the community.